Chapter 29. Matt pulled out his phone and called his sister, Kat. "Hey, big brother," she said. As the FBI special agent who'd helped build the case against McKnight, relations between them had been strained lately. "You got a minute?" Matt asked. "I always have time for my favorite Barry. What's on your mind?" "No, let me guess. McKnight didn't do it. We have the wrong man in jail." "That's it," he said. "Are you going to the range tonight?" she asked after a pause, changing the subject. "I am." Fast draw competitions were one of the few things Matt had in common with his sister. The competitions were a throwback to the late 1800s in the American Old West. Competitors used .45 caliber single-action revolvers and fired wax bullets in elimination-style contests to determine the fastest draw. Matt had gotten into it when he was young. Kat had joined him on a whim and turned out to be a natural. "Let's talk there," Kat said. "I can give you my take after we shoot." Kat competed in the women's division, and she was scary fast. Her reaction time was almost superhuman. Matt placed comfortably in the middle rankings of the men's division. 7:30, he asked. "I'll be there," she confirmed. "See you tonight." The Johnson house was quiet. Matt parked his truck at the curb and approached the front door. After ringing the bell, he heard heavy, slow footsteps from within. Jeff Johnson opened the door. Recognition didn't immediately register in his reddened eyes. "Mr. Johnson, I'm Special Agent Matt Barry with the Texas Bureau of Investigation." He showed his credentials. "Detective Foster mentioned I might be stopping by." Jeff nodded vaguely, then seemed to remember. "Right," he called. "Please come in." The house smelled of casseroles and flowers, the offerings of neighbors and friends who didn't know what else to do. In the living room, framed photos of Becky dominated every surface. "My wife is resting," Jeff said, gesturing vaguely toward the upstairs. "The doctor gave her something. She hasn't really slept since—" His voice trailed off. "I understand. I'm sorry to intrude at a time like this." Jeff led him into the living room. "Can I get you anything?" "Coffee," Jeff asked. "I'm fine, thank you," Matt replied, taking a seat on the edge of the sofa. "I know Detective Foster and his team have already spoken with you, but I'm working the case from a different angle." Jeff sank into the recliner across from Matt. "Different angle? Do you think this is connected to those other deaths? The Merrick boy and the black kid?" Matt chose his words carefully. "I'm just being thorough, Mr. Johnson, following up on all possibilities out of an abundance of caution." "I feel like this is my fault," Jeff said. "She ran every day. I never imagined there might be trouble. I should have gone with her or something." "You couldn't have known," Matt said. He hated this part of the job, talking to grieving parents. No matter how many times he did it, he felt uncomfortable and out of place, his words hollow against their loss. "I intend to catch the person responsible," Matt added, meeting Jeff's gaze directly. Something sharpened in Jeff's expression. "How can I help?" "Let's start with a list of those closest to Becky." "Do you think it was someone who knew her?" Jeff asked. "Experience tells us it's usually someone who knew the victim. Each case is different, but that's where we start." For the next 15 minutes, Jeff listed friends, teachers, extended family members. As they worked, Matt noticed something missing. Did Becky have a boyfriend? "Robbie Benefield. He's devastated. There's no way Robbie had anything to do with this. He worshipped Becky." Matt took down Robbie's information, but the word worshipped picked at him. "Have you ever heard of the gods?" he asked. Jeff waved a hand dismissively. "Of course. Kids being kids, playing make-believe with fancy titles." "What was Becky's relationship with them?" "Friends, I guess," Jeff said. "Becky was focused on school. She didn't have time for anything else. She wasn't part of their inner circle or whatever they called it." "Did she have any kind of relationship specifically with Raymond Merrick or Ed Black?" Matt asked. "No, nothing specific. They all went to the same school, knew the same people. But I wouldn't say they were close." "She have any problems with any of them?" Jeff shook his head. "Number. We're friends with the Merricks and Blacks. I have a couple business deals with them." "What kind of business deals?" "Are you familiar with the auto parts place on the county road?" "Sure, pick your part. The three of us own that," Jeff said. Cal, Alvin, and me. Plus, we have a couple of small real estate deals on the side. Nothing major, just investment properties. Matt's interest was piqued. 3 dead teenagers, 3 connected families. When is the last time you saw Robbie? Last night. We see Robbie every night. He practically lives here. Did Becky have a relationship with Penny McKnight? Jeff frowned. The video thing? Yes. Number, I don't know if she even knew Penny McKnight. Did Becky have a cell phone and computer? Sure, what kid doesn't? Detective Foster's people already have them. They took everything. Matt stood. Thank you for your time, Mr. Johnson. I know how difficult this is. Jeff rose. Will you catch whoever did this? He asked. Yes, Matt said. I will. Matt rang the bell. Sandra Benefield answered. Mrs. Benefield? Special Agent Matt Berry, Texas Bureau of Investigation. He showed his ID. We spoke about Robbie. She stepped aside. He's in the living room. He hasn't stopped crying since we heard. Matt followed her through the hallway lined with family photos and found Robbie on the couch. Robbie, she said, this is Agent Berry. He needs to ask you a few questions. Matt sat across from him. I'm sorry about Becky. I know this is difficult, but anything you can tell me might help. When did you last see Becky? Robbie wiped his nose with the back of his hand. Last night. I picked her up after school and took her home. What time did you leave? I just dropped her off, 4, maybe 5. And you drove her home? Dropped her off? Yeah. I texted her when I got home, just to say I got back safe. Did she respond? Robbie nodded. She sent a heart emoji. That was it. Did you leave again? No. Did you talk to her anymore last night? Robbie shook his head. I meant to, but time got away from me. What about this morning? Did you talk to her? Number I texted her, but there was no response. Robbie, did you know Raymond Merrick or Ed Black? Yeah, of course. Everyone knows them. Knew them, I mean. Were you friends? Robbie shook his head. Not really. I mean, Becky and I would see them at parties sometimes. That whole crowd's kinda... He paused, searching for the word. Different. Different how? You know about their whole gods thing, right? It's stupid. They think they run the school. Matt leaned forward. Tell me about that. It's just this thing they started, calling themselves Greek gods, acting like everyone should worship them or whatever. Ray was Zeus, Ed was Mars. The whole football team thinks they're untouchable. Did you have problems with them? No. Robbie shook his head emphatically. I stay out of their way, they stay out of mine. But you knew them, Matt pressed. Everyone knows them. Doesn't mean we hung out. Did Becky ever mention being afraid of anyone? Feeling threatened? Robbie thought for a moment. Not at all. After a few more questions, Matt stood. Robbie had been forthcoming. Matt had spent nearly an hour with him, though he'd mentally eliminated Robbie as a suspect within the first 10 minutes. Still, he needed to close the loop. Thank you. You've been very helpful. Matt handed Robbie his card. If you think of anything else, anything at all about Becky, the gods, or anything unusual at school lately, call me directly. Matt sat alone in a corner booth at a Tex-Mex joint off 14th Street. From the outside, it looked shabby, but inside it served some of the best Tex-Mex in town. He mentally ran through the suspects again. Reed McKnight had motive, but the forensics didn't back it up. The blood in the barn had been staged, confirmed by the blood spatter expert. The K-9 unit tracked the body's scent trail back to the road behind the house, and Penny McKnight had a solid alibi for the night Raymond was killed. Officer Swift was still on the board. There was tension between him and Merrick, though Swift hadn't explained why. Still, Matt wasn't convinced he was their guy. Sam Patel, the motel clerk, clearly resented Merrick for flirting with his sister, but that felt like a dead end. It didn't explain Ed Black. Miss Potter? She was a maybe, but Matt just didn't feel it. His phone rang. He glanced at the screen inside. Sometimes he wished cell phones had never been invented. Still, he answered. Agent Barry? This is Hera. Do you remember me? Of course. What's going on? You told me to call if I thought of anything else or if anything happened. Go ahead. I'm not sure if this counts, but I got a phone call. A woman. She said I was committing blasphemy, and if I didn't stop, I'd be next. Matt sat forward. A woman? Yes, I didn't recognize the voice. I'm sorry to bother you, but it really freaked me out. You're not bothering me. I want you to go to the Vista Ridge Police Department and ask for Detective Joe Foster. Tell him exactly what you just told me. He'll have you swear out a complaint. After ending the call, Matt dialed Joe and brought him up to speed. What are you thinking? Joe asked. Probably nothing. Maybe some angry mom who just found out her son's praying to a high school hottie. Still, it can't hurt to check it out. This time, Matt brought Officer Swift to the station to answer questions. Swift carried a badge, and he understood this was no longer a friendly chat in the security office at school. Swift lied to him the first time. The lie didn't anger Matt. He expected to be lied to, even by a fellow cop. There were multiple possibilities. First, Swift could refuse to come. Second, he could show up with a lawyer who would tell Matt they're not answering any questions. Third, Swift could show up and refuse to answer questions. Swift could also show up and submit to being interviewed. If Matt had to rank all the possibilities, this one was at the bottom. Although suspects did sometimes think that if they showed up and pretended to cooperate, in other words, act like an innocent person, they could slip by. To Matt's surprise, Swift showed up, without a lawyer. The Dallas TBI interview rooms were all wired for sound and video. But in addition, Matt had an old-fashioned tape recorder on the table. To further ratchet up the pressure, Matt began the interview by reading Swift his rights. Then he turned on the tape recorder. Am I suspect? Swift asked after hearing his Miranda rights. You know how this works. Everyone is a potential suspect until we eliminate them. I'm trying to eliminate you. I didn't kill anybody. Good. Then this shouldn't take long. Matt pulled a printout from a folder and slid it across the table. Recognize this? Swift glanced down at the still image from the school security footage showing him and Marek in what appeared to be a heated argument. Swift fidgeted and stared at the recording device. Matt reached over and made a show of turning off the recorder. I'm interested in solving 2, maybe 3 murders. I don't care about anything else. Swift still hesitated. Let's take a walk, Matt said. Matt led Swift to a regular office down the hall not wired for sound and video. Swift looked uncomfortable. I'd be uncomfortable too, Matt thought, if I were in his position. If he refused to talk, Matt would surely move forward with drug-dealing allegations. If he answered questions truthfully, then he admitted illegal activity. Neither option was appealing. Swift crossed his arms defensively. I don't know what you think you know. Matt leaned forward. Let me outline what I have so far. Barbara Carter told me you were selling drugs and that Raymond Marek was supplying them. Swift's face tightened, but he said nothing. She also told me that you wanted a raise and a bigger cut and that Zeus said no, that you were holding back money. That's what the argument was about. The one you told me was about parking spaces. Matt paused to let that sink in. Then there's Jane Flynn, Athena, who also confirmed your involvement with drugs. Matt tapped the photo of Swift and Marek. So I've got 2 witnesses and video evidence. I don't think the drug case would be difficult to make. If you don't cooperate, I will proceed to make that case and send you to prison. Matt waited and let Swift weigh his options. Finally, Swift nodded. We weren't arguing about parking spaces, Swift admitted, but you already know that. I do. I'm not sure how it all started. Matt held up a hand. I don't care to hear your life story. Tell me about the argument. It was over money. Drug money, Matt said. Swift nodded. Zeus came to me, it must have been sometime last year, and asked me if I wanted to make a little money on the side. I told him sure, I'm always interested in making some extra cash. He said I didn't have to do anything for the money, just look the other way while he transacted business. I should have said no, but I was stupid. I needed the cash. Well, one thing led to the other, and before I knew it, I was in too deep. The argument? He was fucking me. I wanted more money. He said no. I didn't kill him or Ed Black. Where were you Wednesday evening? Matt asked. I left school about 5 or 5:30. After that, I went home and spent the evening with my wife and kids. They'll verify that. All night? I never left. Next, Matt covered Swift's schedule for the preceding portion of the same day. What about this morning? What time did you leave the house? Seriously? Answer the question. I was home until I left for school about 7. And your wife? She leaves earlier, about 6:30, Swift said. We need you to supply a DNA sample and submit to a polygraph, Matt said. Sure, Swift said, defeated. That's all for now. What are you going to do? I mean, with the information you have. Matt wanted to say, place your ass under arrest, but didn't. He toyed with the pen in his hand as he reached a decision. Nothing. Yet. I'll give you a week to turn in your badge. Go find another job. Anywhere but here. If you do that, you can consider yourself lucky. If not, you take your chances. A week? Is that too much time? Matt asked dryly. Swift dropped his head. A week is fine. The Lone Star Fast Draw Club occupied a 10-acre spread about 45 minutes northwest of Plano. The range consisted of a massive dirt bullet trap 30 feet high and 100 feet long. A weathered double-wide trailer served as the clubhouse, its walls covered with old Western movie posters and faded photographs of past champions. Outside, portable toilets and picnic tables dotted the grounds, the latter serving as gathering spots for shooters between rounds. As Matt pulled his truck into the parking area and spotted Kat at the center of a half-dozen men, all hanging on her every word. She cut an impressive figure in her fitted jeans, worn cowboy boots, and cream-colored Stetson. Around her waist, she wore an authentic 1873-style quick-draw holster, custom-made by a leather worker in Fort Worth. When she saw him, Kat extricated herself from her admirers and crossed the lot toward him. Despite their recent tension over the McKnight case, she greeted him with a hug and kiss on the cheek. I don't know where to start with you, she said, stepping back to examine him. Here it comes, Matt replied with a resigned smile. He grabbed his gear bag from the passenger seat and slung it over his shoulder. They walked toward an empty shooting station, a 4x4 post planted in the ground, topped with a square foot of plywood that served as a surface for shells and gear. The electronic timers used to measure draws to the thousandth of a second were already set up. Let's start with Jen, Kat said, setting her own bag down. When were you going to tell me your soon-to-be ex-wife is trying to have you killed? Matt set a box of wax bullets on the shooting stand and avoided his sister's gaze. What can you do except worry? This is all happening so fast, I haven't had time to think it through. I'm your sister. I'm supposed to worry. Kat's voice softened slightly. What's gotten into her? I've always gotten along with Jen. Maybe I should reach out, try to talk to her. Matt shook his head emphatically. Don't. She's not the same person anymore. I don't want you involved. I could help. Drop it, Kat. Please. The edge in Matt's voice was enough to silence her, at least temporarily. Kat loaded her Ruger Vaquero single-action revolver, the .45 caliber replica of an 1873 Colt adapted to fire wax bullets for competition. Fine. Let's talk about McKnight then. What game are you playing? We have the right guy. No, we don't, Matt countered, checking his own weapon. The blood in the garage was staged. I took a tracking dog out to the McKnight property. It followed Black's scent from the grave to the street behind the house, not to the garage. So what? Kat challenged. What kind of killer buries a body in his own backyard and then sends the cops a tape directing them to the body? It makes no sense. He's a lunatic, Kat said with a dismissive wave. Lunatics don't have to make sense. How do you explain Becky Johnson? McKnight was in jail. Copycat, accomplice, or completely unrelated, Kat said. The MO was totally different. What was the rush? Matt asked. Why move so quickly on McKnight? Kat's cheeks flushed with anger. You're a troublemaker, Matt. Why can't you be a team player? Just this once. Because innocent people don't belong in jail, Matt replied. You're wrong, Kat snapped, but something in her eyes wavered. You're wrong, she repeated, less conviction in her voice. Matt studied his sister's face. We both know the charges are going to be dismissed. Kat's mouth tightened into a thin line. She turned abruptly toward the target and took her stance. The timer beeped, Her hand blurred, and 6 shots rang out in rapid succession. The wax bullets struck the center of the silhouette target downrange. The electronic display flashed, 0.312 seconds from beep to first shot. Several nearby shooters whistled in appreciation. She was frighteningly fast, one of the best. She holstered her revolver in turn. "Your turn," she said, stepping aside. Matt took his position, his stance wider than Kat's, his breathing controlled. At the beep he drew, his motion smooth but noticeably slower than his sister's. The timer registered 0.577 seconds to first shot. "You're getting better," Kat said. "If you practiced more, you might actually place in competition." "I do this for fun," Matt replied, reloading. "I do it to win," she shot back, but with the hint of a smile. "You do everything to win," Matt said, shaking his head. Kat's smile faded as she observed him. "Tell me about Penny McKnight," she said. Matt tensed. "You tell me," he said, immediately on the defensive. Kat poked him hard in the chest. "Have you lost your fucking mind? I don't even know where to start." Her intensity caught him off guard. "Who told you?" "I talked with Oberst when I learned Jen wanted to murder you. Penny McKnight's name came up. What are you thinking, Matt? The daughter of your prime suspect?" "I'd rather not talk about this." "Of course you don't." Kat's voice rose. "Matt, think about what you're doing. Your career. Your reputation." "I like her," Matt interrupted. "Oh, Matt, are you insane? I have girlfriends. Nice girls. They'd love to meet you." "Is she worth your job?" Kat asked suddenly. Matt paused, genuinely considering the question. His gaze drifted toward the horizon, toward the setting sun casting long shadows across the range. In his mind, he saw Penny, her smile, her directness, the way she looked at him like she saw something no one else did. "Yes," he said simply. "She is." Kat's eyes widened, genuine surprise replacing her anger. She hadn't expected that answer. For once, Kathleen Barry seemed at a loss for words. "I want to meet her," she said finally. "No," Matt replied, turning back to the shooting stand. "Why not?" Kat pressed. "Because you have a sharp tongue," Matt said. "I don't want to subject Penny to that." Hurt flashed across Kat's face. "You think I'd be mean to someone you care about? Is that really what you think of me?" Matt sighed. "That's not what I meant." "I'm your sister," Kat said. "I just want to meet the woman who's got you risking everything. I'll behave. I promise." Matt holstered his revolver, torn between protecting Penny from his sister's scrutiny and acknowledging Kat's genuine concern. "I'll think about it," he said finally. Kat nodded, accepting the small concession. She turned back to the target, drawing her revolver again in a blur of motion, as if the physical action could burn away her frustration. The timer beeped, the gunshots echoed, and the numbers flashed. 0.298 seconds. A new personal best. "Jen is running," Oberst said. "What? Are you sure?" Matt asked. Oberst reached him on his cell halfway back to the house after his time at the range. "I'm sure she got news of the warrant. Someone gave her a heads up." "What now?" "I put out a BOLO. We're looking for her. Until we find her, watch yourself." "You've been to her place? Did you see a dog? A shepherd?" "We had animal control pick it up." "Why?" "She's my dog, Daisy. Do me a favor. Call animal control and tell them I'm on the way over."